So in the second video, we're going to be looking at this main screen and menu area. This gives us our full access to the functionality of the board. On the right hand side, we've got our main menu options. Below that, we've got our navigation of those pages within the menus, and then below that we've got our endless encoders and pots, push pots. So in this first section, we're going to be looking at Home, which is the Home menu. This gives us our settings for the channel strips as they exist. So this is for everything except DCAs. So we have our main inputs, which shows you all of the options that you have available in that signal chain. Then if we go to auxiliaries in, you can see that's reduced. Effects returns, that is reduced. Then the buses is reduced. And then the matrices, or matrix mixes, is reduced again. So if we go back to our main input channel, this is organised in terms of signal path. You can see that on our input, you can manage the phantom power, or you have access to see whether the phantom power or the polarity options have been engaged. Also, you can see if a delay is active and if a low cut is active. We also have the options to link channels together. So you will link channels together which are adjacent to each other and they follow an odd and even. So for example, I'm in channel 1 at the moment. I can link that to channel 2. That's really useful if you have a stereo input coming in. I use it a lot on corporate events when I have a stereo send from an iPhone, which comes to a 3.5mm jack into 2 monophonos, as you can see here. You can see that they're linked and that I've trimmed them. The benefit of doing this is if I need to affect them with any dynamics or EQ, say for example I'm playing some old 50s tunes and everything's really harsh and I want to change it, it will affect both channels by duplicating the effects that you're adding or the controls that you're adding to that channel. The next part of our signal path is the gate. This shows us whether it's active, and you can see that it's highlighted there. And then very much as the physical controls on the board, you can see that I'm changing the threshold. When it's highlighted, is also toggled on the board. The next part of that is the EQ, so it's showing you whether the EQ is on and off, and if you've affected any elements of that, and then what you've done to do that. So very stupid EQ there, but you can see that it's active. So then the next part of our signal chain is the compressor, which is here, so you can see that it's active and that there's a threshold set with it. Then we have our insert effects. We can actually change the position of this insert effect. So one of our 8 available effects can be inserted post this processing or pre the EQ processing. And then to engage that, we just click the pot. Then after that we've got our out, so we can see that it's going to left right, which we can toggle on and off, and then we've got a pan option, which is controlled by the pot on the board, or this pot here. We also can see whether our send to our monobus is active. And then as you can see, with these digits here, just before we get to that, we also can see our available sends that we have sent this channel to. So if I just engage different buses, you can see that I've slightly sent to bus 1. I'm going to send to these. I've just used the sends on fader button just to quickly show you. And then I'm going to send to those effects as well. There's a lot of sends going on here. So you can see that we've got a visual representation of what our sends are doing. On the second layer, we have the option to do some assigning. So we can actually deal with our polarity and our phantom power. We can also select the DCA groups that we'd like to assign. We can also select our mute groups. We can also select our auto groupings and whether we want to solo that for monitoring purposes. And then we've got an auto weight pot here for our auto mixing functionality, and we have a mute pot or mute option in the push pot. We also have an icon here which says safe. That is dealt with elsewhere, but if that is activated, it means that if you're loading other cues, snippets, or scenes, that it won't affect any of the setup on that channel. If we go to our next tab, you can see that this is config. The config tab, this is where we can select our main source. So this is in on the back of the desk. Then we've got auxiliaries, USB, effects, buses. So we'll just keep that for 1 for the moment. Then we have our gain, which is also dealt with as a physical control. On the board, we have our link options again. This is where we set our delay, so we can add our delay in. We've also got an opportunity to engage our low cut again as part of the channel config. Then we can look at our insert positions. So pre-EQ, post EQ, and compressor. And you can actually choose your insert here. So then our next page is specifically to do with the gate. So we can activate it again from here. As you can see, it's loading or shutting the gate if you like. We can adjust our threshold. We can change the modes, which I'm not going to go into now. So I generally have that to gate. Then we have our attack. So the amount of time the signal has to pass through before the gate is opened. Then we have our hold, release functions, and the range for which that gate will work. We also have these 3 options are also shown at the top for a nice quick access. Then you have filter options, which are dealt with on the next layer. So irrespective of the layer on, you still have access to threshold and mode. If you're on the second layer, it gives you access to your filter information. The next page along is the dynamics. But remember that the dynamics in the signal chain sits after the EQ, even though it's next on here. I think that is because of the way that the physical controls are set on the board. It seems to make sense. So in here we can activate, turn on, turn off our compressor, change the threshold. We can change the ratios. So set to 100 if you want it to be a limiter. Then we can change our attack, a hold, release, and output gain of those functions. You can see that all of these options also sit above at the top. In our second layer, we can change our mix, our knee profile, change the harshness or softness of that, and then we can check the filter options, and then we've got a key source. So if we're looking to side chain it against something else, we've got that option there. The next page along is our EQ. So you can see we've got access to our low cut again here. Then to activate it, press that pop. And then we've also got the option to view the spectral analyzer before the EQ, and then if it's unselected after the EQ. We can also, using the layer buttons, you can select your band that you want to work with. And then up the top here, you can see that EQ is on, off. Then the next page is our sends. So in here, you can see whether you can mute those sends using the push pots. You can change the level of those, and then on the sends, you can change the options. So you can have them as an input, you can have them pre-EQ, post-EQ. So pre-EQ in the signal chain will give you the gates, then post-EQ, pre-fader, post-fader. Okay, I tend to work with post-fader just in case anything explodes while I'm working. It means that I can just mute the channel or mute monitors and front of house. You can see here that we've got the opportunity to select in banks of 4, and if you press it, it'll jump. If you're dealing with post and pre-fader, it's per every 2 channels. However, the mute is every channel. And then if we go to the last tab, we have our main output. So you can see this channel is being sent to left and right, and it's also being sent to our sub. So we have an option for pan, and then we have our send level here. So we have, in our main options, we will have an opportunity to have left, right, and the sub, or you can change it to left, center, right. We have an option solo. So you can see the channel's down at the moment, but if I push that up, you'll see that is sending. So just set that to unity. And then if I change that subsend, which I can do via the pot on the desk, you can see that how much I'm sending to the pot. There. And that is it for the home menu.